Good day, Mission Podcast community. I'm your host and podcast navigator, Doug Dvorak, and I'm so very excited to bring you inspiring stories from incredible guests. These individuals are on a mission to create remarkable possibilities that not only enhance their lives, but also make a lasting impact on the communities around them. Stay tuned for some truly amazing conversations. Today on Mission Possible, we welcome Alfredo Miguel from Mexico City. Hi, Alfredo. How are you?
Hello, Doug.
It's a high honor and
privilege. Your audience.
Thank you. It's a high honor and
thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Alfredo is a visionary Mexican businessman and industrialist whose entrepreneurial spirit and leadership have left a lasting mark across multiple industries. With decades of experience in business development, investment, and innovation, Alfredo has played a pivotal role in driving economic growth and creating opportunities both in Mexico and internationally. His story is one of determination, foresight, and the power of bold ideas brought to life. Great to see you again, Alfredo.
Thank you, Doug.
My pleasure. I've known Alfredo for well over 20 years, and the genesis of our relationship goes back in the time machine to about 2004 and 2005 to Tamarack Resort in Tamarack or Donnelly, Idaho, where he was very influential in suggesting or convincing that we really take a look at building a home, which we did. Alfredo, before we get into your various businesses and how you've grown and scaled these businesses and impacted the lives of many around the world, tell us a little bit about yourself, your humble beginnings, and a little bit about your dad and that great story about the Navy or military ship. And just tell us a little bit about yourself and growing up in Mexico and a little bit about your background.
Sure. Thank you, Doug. Well, yeah, it's some time now that we know each other. So, well, let me tell you, my grandparent came from Lebanon. I'm Lebanese descendant, and he left Lebanon in 1908 because of the draft of the Turkish Empire. So they had to leave because they were, drafting all kids of 12 years old to the Turkish army. We are Catholics, so we were not very welcome at that environment. So they left. He left to United States. His family was already in Boston and in St. Louis, Missouri. But the ship came to a quarantine in New Orleans. So then he went to Veracruz, Mexico. So he went down in Veracruz and started life. It was tough to move at that time from Veracruz to New Orleans. No roads, no railroads, no. So he went to a little town and started working, and like a merchant. And my father was born in Mexico, in that little town called Textiles. It's northeast Mexico. It's close to Veracruz, and in the mountains. And my father was born there, but he lost his father young. He was 12 years old. But he was 12, 20 years old. He had a very open mind. He was a very bright guy, even coming from a little town in Mexico. So he moved to Brownsville, Texas, and he got a loan from a Mexican friend and bought a destroyer from the Navy that was going for scrap. And he put refrigeration and then went to Mexico at Honduras and started importing bananas and pineapple to the United States, to Puerto Angel. And he started that way. That was early in the 40s. So then he came to Mexico, married my mother, go back to the United States. And I was born there in 1949. And my father built a big company, shipping company, distribution of fruit in the United States. And in 1955, they decided to move back to Mexico and start companies in Mexico. They were big field. My mother had 9 sisters. My father had 5 or 6. No sisters, brothers, and so they moved back to Mexico. And my father started big companies in Mexico, manufactured in the 50s. He went to Germany, and it was very important relations. That's one of the points that I would like to tell you about what is part of our success. He went to Germany. He had relations with a big plastics company. He got alliances, brought technology to Mexico, and then he built manufactured plastics companies. He became the largest manufacturer in Latin America. Big companies, films for plastics, for lamination, for floors, for wallpapers, for blister packs, for credit cards. So he started that big company. I was born in the United States, moved to Mexico in '55, and started studying here, and that's my background.
So is it fair to say that your dad really invented back in the early to or mid '40s refrigerated transportation of fruits? He saw something that no one did. He saw a scrap metal, Navy frigate, and he said, "There's an opportunity there." Did that really start that industry?
Exactly, yes. And he was the first one to invent it, the packaging of the pineapple on site. I have newspapers of those years that his company was Pan American company, and he was the one that invented the packaging to package and to refrigerate it and to take to the United States. Yes, innovation.
Very much. And that's part of the mission possible mindset, seeing one thing and then envisioning one man's junk's another man's treasure. So your father saw this dilapidated, going to scrap, but he saw an opportunity. So, Alfredo, growing up in Mexico, what values or experiences shaped your entrepreneurial
Let me
spirit?
tell you one thing here. I have a book here. This is my father and my mother.
Oh, Pepe,
You know?
and yes,
And let me just show you this because this
please.
will give you an idea of his first ship. And here's with my mother was called Marjorie E. You see it? You can
Is
see
that
it?
your dad and mom on top above the Marjorie E?
Yes, that's
Wow.
one of the ships. And
So,
this is a
so
book I made for them. My brothers and me we both did this book about my parents and their life.
that's exciting. So your dad, born in Lebanon,
No, my dad was born in Mexico.
your grandfather, born in Lebanon,
Yeah.
moved because of war looming and draft. Very humble beginnings. So what shaped your entrepreneurial spirit? Was it your dad's entrepreneurial spirit? But what really, growing up in Mexico, what shaped your values and your entrepreneurial spirit? You could have gone in another direction. You could have been a college professor. You could have been a doctor. Talk to us about what shaped those early entrepreneurial spirits within you, Alfredo.
Well, my father, he was very, very close to us, to his sons. And so when I got 12, 13 years old, he always take me with him to the factories, always. And I always was watching him. Let me tell you a story of in Vail, years ago in Vail, when I was there with my kids. They were really small, and I took them to the ski school, and it was expensive, at the times, to ski school, and so I put them with a ski in the ski school. So I left them there, and then at the afternoon, I saw them coming down the hill. So I saw him for a while, and I saw that the ski instructor just was skiing in front, and the kids were following me. So when they came back, I told his name was Mark. I said, "Hey, Mark, I pay a lot of money, and I watch you for a while, and I don't see you give them any lessons." And he said, "You're wrong, Alfredo. We teach by imitation. So they follow me, and then they start doing what I'm doing. And I hope that's a lesson for you on life. What you do, your kids will do. It's imitation." So my father took me to the factories. So since I was a kid, I said I want to be a businessman. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be this or that, or whatever. I want to be a businessman. So that's why I started.
So he took you early on to the factories and exposed you to that, and that really resonated with you. What are the top 3 gifts your father gave you?
Well, he gave me, I think that the gift that he gave me was to be truthful with myself, to be honest, and hard work. I think those are the big values that I got from him. No.
And a lot of love, because your family is very loving.
Oh yeah. A lot of love. Truly. The family values. No.
Yeah.
That's a very, very Mexican thing to have a family values.
Absolutely. And family is very strong and important in Mexico. So, Alfredo, let's talk about your business journey and strategy. What was the first big opportunity that put you on the map as a businessman? Not maybe working for your dad, but what big risk? What was that first opportunity, sort of like your dad, seeing that Navy ship and having a vision and it was successful? What was that first big opportunity that put you on the map as a successful entrepreneur and businessman?
Well, it comes in the 80s. I was running for my family division of textile, big division. We were the largest yarn producers in Latin America. So I export a lot of yarn to Europe. Well, 30% of my production. So one day I wake up and I see that Mexico opened its borders. We always were protected. Our borders were protected. Industry was protected. So suddenly they open it, but open and wide open. So I said, "Wow, this is bad." So I went to see my father and told him, "Look, Dad, I'm gonna sell all this factory." I had 8,000 employees in textiles, on textiles. I had several companies, and I said, "I'm gonna sell them." He said, "Why are you gonna?" There was the late 80s, and I said, "I'll tell you why. Because I export to Europe. We export to Europe, as you know, and but we start exporting until March or February, because the first 3 months Europeans buy all the products from Asia, from China, and from India. They sell at the price at my raw material cost. That was their price. So I couldn't sell anything till they fill their quotes. Then I start selling. So I told my father, if this is open, Chinese are going to come, and Asians are going to come, and we're going to disappear. So I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to change. I have to change. So he stayed in plastics with my brother, and then I moved to aerospace, and that was the big thing I did. I started with helicopters. I saw an opportunity to give service to Medicare to Mexico government. So I went to a bid. I won the bid for 3 or 4 helicopters. I went to Dallas. I met the vice presidents of Bell Helicopters. Then that's very important, the relations. They did a very strong relations with them. So I convinced them to do a joint venture with me in Mexico, and I create Bell Helicopters of Mexico and start selling helicopters and operating helicopters. Took a big risk because it was a lot of capital investment. I didn't know nothing about helicopters, but I need to change. So I changed, and that was big. That was the moment I really changed my life. Changed my life because I learned something that how American companies work. Those big companies, Bell Helicopter is a strategic American military company, and so they have a tremendous structure. So I learned how to manage, and I learned the English business language, and that really gave me all my background to really create another type of companies. Then I did too. I went for auto parts and crankshafts, and so. But that was, I think, the main, the biggest change I did in my life.
So it was a pivotal moment. You saw these looming threats from Asia and well, India, China, that was adversely affecting your market, and you said, I need to get out because the margins are shrinking, done. And so you took a risk, and now, and I've visited your Bell helicopter hangar. It's one of the largest. Well, it is the largest in Latin America, right?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. Very.
Yeah, and I became number one sales helicopters in the world in Mexico. Military and offshore, and that took me to another type of industries, because then I started transporting labor to platforms offshore. So then one of my sons started. They started with me the same. They started like young kids. I sent them to Bell to work for a year and learn how to manage a company like one of the best U.S. companies managed. No, the all the how to do the accounting management, the Foreign Corrupt Practice Acts, all these compliances that you need to have, like to be a global company.
Interesting. So, how do you identify and nurture talent within your various businesses?
Well, in my executives, in my
Just in general,
collaborators.
in your culture, in your businesses, when you see someone who you see has potential, how do you identify and nurture that talent in terms of a career path for them?
Well, I know. I have an incubator. I told you about my incubator.
No, I'm not familiar with your incubator. Share with us that, please.
Okay, well, when I grew now, and my kids start getting old, they start working with me. Now they run the companies, and they have done it much better than me. They grew it tremendously because I think they were more prepared. And but then I personally said, well, I have to do something to create more impact, not just money, but now social impact. So I create an incubator for startups, for small businesses. So I already incubated around 1,200 startups.
Wow, 1,200?
Yeah, 1,200.
Wow.
Yeah, for girls that in their garage they do ice creams, or of guys that whatever do food to sell to jail, or all type and because there were programs from the government to support with money. So my incubator, I bring open. They come the kids. They come the projects. We give them courses, management courses based on Harvard, of how to sell, how to accountant, and how to be formal entrepreneurs, not informal, but to be formal. Very important that for me to be formal. So that's where I understand how the talent of the people know, because I talk to them, I speak with them, and sometimes motivation. They have to see. They have to be to see honestly. They have to be that you are honest, that you're a success. You have to be an example for them. That's my most important deal. And you saw one of those. You saw the one in Yacapixtla in Morelos, the one of the agriculture.
Yeah, I
Is
want to
is
talk.
one of the I incubated that one in my incubator.
That's fascinating. I had the opportunity to visit Alfredo and his family a couple of years ago. And before I went to Mexico, he said, I can take you to the normal tourist spots, but I think what would be of interest to you is a special treat. So Alfredo took us to this location, maybe an hour, hour and a half outside of Mexico City, which with these grow buildings, and I had no clue what it was. So unpack for us, if you will, the genesis of that, the challenges of trying to cobble together, because I don't know indigenous or land laws, but it's really tough. So walk me through, what that business is, your vision, and what it is today.
Yeah, well, look, this part of the country is a part that I love, because my father built a country home that we spend weekends, and then when my kids grow, because we live in Mexico City at 7,200 feet above sea level, and that one it's 1,000. So really, we go weekends to go up out of the altitude and go to lowlands. So that place I like it very much, and my kids really love it. And there's a lot of poor people, many little towns, but very poor. They're under the poor line. They're extremely poor, and so I said, and it was because of the Mexican policies through the Mexican Revolution. The the government gave to the ejido. I don't know if you heard about the ejido. Is that they just give the land to the poor, to the peasants, and but very small pieces, and they don't have money. They starve. They don't have so it's not they can't compete with big companies. So it's full of those little producers, but they know how to produce, and they're good people. So I said, well, I'm gonna create here an impact, social impact. So I went there, and first we I said they need technology. So we brought these high-tech green houses to produce tomatoes in big scale, 34 kilos per square meter per year. When open, when in an open field produces 4 or 5 kilos. So this is high tech. Then I said, I need to change the mentality of these people. First, I have to show all of them what it means technology, innovation, and productivity. So 24 kilos against 3 or 4 kilos. Then in a hectare, they produce corn, and they're producing they're producing 2 tons, 2 tons per year. It's unbelievable per hectare. When high tech in the north, or they produce 18 or 20 tons
Wow.
per hectare. Why? Because they don't have technology. They still do their 400 years techniques. So I said, I have to convince these people. They're teeth of dog. So first I showed them the tomatoes, and then I did another division of vinculation. There are big producers of avocado, but very small producers, and and figs, and their avocado, they produce it and they sell it on the streets or markets, and they get almost nothing. So I brought them with us, like 250 producers. We got their trust. First, they didn't have trust in us, and we gave them because they are very humble, and they see big company. They said, "Well," so they get scared. So you have to be very. You have to then teach them, train them. I brought psychologists to talk to them and help them in their way of life, and show them how to produce a product that could be exported, and to be exported with the inoculation, and to be safe for food to eat it. Sorry about my English, but then they learn. We did. They bring their products. We have a packaging, very high tech packaging. They all are part of it, and then refrigeration, and then we export all that avocado, all that of 250 producers to Dubai, to Kuwait, to Singapore, to Malaysia, and they're doing much better. But not just the money, because I have teams that talk to them and talk with their family and show them how to have a better life and to have social security. And so it's really to improve the life of people, and that's what really moves me to do.
Yeah, when I hear you talking about these new businesses, it's more about significance than success. It will be successful, but leading with giving back and social impact. And I when Kathy and I visited that very cool factory, you proudly said that a lot of these families that live around the factory, the men or husbands or fathers went to the U.S. to try to make a living, and that would disrupt the family. Right now, by what you created, it's not just about giving jobs, it's keeping families together. You have nutrition, healthcare, childcare, and if I recall, you give each family the opportunity to get transportation via a moped. So talk about beyond the real impact, beyond giving them a living wage. It's healthcare, it's childcare, and it's keeping families together and also keeping the monies in those local communities.
Sure, right now we're having this situation of the illegal immigration, and so we're very concerned about it. Me as Mexican, I'm very concerned, and because I know there are people that went to the United States to work. They're good people that they have a very sacrifice to leave their families and to go there. So there's many Mexicans illegal right now in the United States, but they're not going anymore. No more Mexicans are going, and they're not going Mexicans not because there's barriers or there's walls. No, because today Mexico is giving a lot of opportunities. They're staying. The ones that are crossing are coming from South America and Central America or Haiti or other places through our borders. But Mexicans, they're not crossing. The ones that are in the States, well, they are there now. They are, and they have to be solved, that thing about because I agree with policy that they have to be legal and not illegal. But you're true. This type of impact programs that we do, and I'm not the only one to do it. A lot of Mexican entrepreneurs were doing this to keep the families in Mexico, so they don't have to move to the United States and move illegally there. They can stay in Mexico and work here and do it all these healthcare all these education, schools, hospitals, everything is a big work.
Yeah, and if you look at the history of this country, we took a third of Mexico, and some people go on a rant about immigration in Mexico. I have a deep love, affection, and respect for Mexican culture, the country. I was an exchange student for a year in the early 80s, and I travel around this country every week. And if it weren't for immigrants, specifically Mexicans, I wouldn't have a meal, an Uber ride, or a clean house. So I'm really appreciative of the sacrifices that they have made. But I'd like to switch a little bit to your earlier point that Mexicans are staying in Mexico. Not so much they're fearful of traveling to the U.S. for opportunities, because the opportunities are existing now in Mexico. If you just look at the U.S.-Mexico border, all that manufacturing that is exploding, pharmaceuticals. Tell me about what was the tipping point, or why is the business climate so much different and better in Mexico now versus 10 or 20 years ago?
Well, first the nearshoring, no, nearshoring that it's right now the big opportunity of Mexico. Mexico has a tremendous advantages because it's strategically geographic. We have a very high workforce. We have a stabilized economy. So that's why you see much and much more investment from U.S. companies and European and all countries in the world investing in Mexico. So one important thing, obviously, and now with the duties, the United States tariffs that the United States is putting to China, Mexico's going to be benefit tremendously. As long as the United States do what has done till today, they put tariffs to Mexico, but they put the lowest tariffs, not over other countries, 15% of tariffs. So it's very competitive. So that's why I think Mexico has a tremendous opportunity. As you say, the North is impressive. In Monterrey, you cannot find a warehouse. Construction is booming. It's even in Juarez, even all the border, and now coming southern Mexico. No.
Yeah. So, Alfredo, what do you think outsiders often misunderstand about doing business in Mexico?
Well, that question is. Let me analyze it a little bit. First, let's see if outsiders have confidence in Mexico or not. I think more than 50% of the formal labor in Mexico, private, out of government, is of U.S. companies.
50%. Wow.
Yes. You see companies like Walmart that has I don't know 300,000 or 400,000 employees in Mexico. You have Uber, I don't know how many. You have Google. You have a formal company. Yeah. Huge. So your question is, what type of entrepreneurs don't have trust in Mexico? The big corporations, they all have. They're just. They all have. They know they don't have any problems with cartels. They don't have any problems with the government. They have communication. They have transportation. There are highways already, big infrastructure. I think one of the biggest difference between years to now is the infrastructure. Mexico has grown in infrastructure very much. So to get ready for all these investments, in roads, in electricity, in water, in all the infrastructure, education that you need, schools, labor. So now, what type of entrepreneurs don't have trust in Mexico? I don't know. Maybe middle entrepreneurs that they're afraid of safety. I don't know. I want you to please, in your question, specify me more, a little bit more.
Sure.
Because,
What can business people and entrepreneurs, sometimes they misunderstand the Mexican culture, the Mexican people. They see just the headlines, drug cartels, fentanyl. What are some misunderstandings that outside investors have about doing business in Mexico?
well, obviously all these, the news are terrible, talking about all these cartels and we, we, we're a big companies. We, in my group, my family, we never have a problem with any cartel. We don't know.
Really?
We don't even know them. Maybe we saw them in the newspapers on the TV, but personally, I never see cartel guys. Cartels are very how can I tell you? Very focused on their job, on their work. They're focused on their producing their drugs that sent to the United States. That's a problem that the two countries have to work, and they're starting to work very strong. I think this government of our president, Sheinbaum, Dr. Sheinbaum, she's really, really doing something that I'm surprised and I applaud about how she is combating the drugs and the fentanyl. And so I think the Americans that had some misunderstanding, or they understand because of the news, they have to be a little bit more, study a little bit more, come to Mexico and see what really is happening, like you did. I think you, I think you are one of the Americans that I know that know more Mexico than somebody else. You visited almost all the country, and you have seen all the sectors and the poor people, the rich people, the art, the museums. What can I tell to Americans that want to visit Mexico? To come in. There are chambers, there are organizations, huge organizations in this country of commerce. There's the Mexico-U.S. Chamber of Commerce. That they can, they will tell them everything how to do business in Mexico. I think it's very easy now and very profitable.
Yeah, I've had the
And they have to, and you guys have to leave China. You have to leave China and come to Mexico.
yeah, I think it's a big tipping point. The whole global supply chain, and we're seeing businesses move from Asia Pacific to Mexico, LATAM, and the U.S. I've been to 154 countries. I've been to all 50 states, and our love for all things Mexico, specifically Mexico City. I had never been to Mexico City, and I've been there twice in the last 3 years. The first time you graciously invited us, I was blown away. Mexico City is better than Paris. The food, the safety, the diversity, the architecture, the theater, it blew me away. And we were on the streets at 8 in the morning, 8 in the evening, 2 a.m. I felt very safe. But just the international feel, vibe, food, culture, and the best museums on the planet. So I would encourage all my listeners to go to Mexico, not just the beaches, but go to Mexico City. It truly is a world-class city. So Alfredo, I want to shift real quick to leadership and mindset. What separates a good business leader from a great one in your eyes?
Well, I think a great leader manages. And a great leader inspires. I think that's a big difference. Inspires innovation, inspires motivation, inspires to make his collaborators be better people in all sense. I think that's one of the biggest the difference that I see of a good leader to a great leader.
Excellent. So how do you maintain your focus and discipline? Let's say I was in a big room and I had all your business organization charts out there. Businesses that you've had in textiles when you own those was 8,000 employees. How do you maintain focus and discipline when managing, juggling all these balls, social responsibility, family, tens of thousands of employees? But how do you maintain focus and discipline yourself?
Well, first, I'm very disciplined on numbers. I think that the language of business is accountant. So first of all our businesses have to have a perfect account, almost. This is it, accounting, perfect. So having information, having the accounting is first thing to really control businesses. And having accounting, you know where you're going, you know where you're standing. And it's not easy. I'm just telling you. But today is getting easier with the tools that we have with the IT. IT had changed, a lot of things. That's why I love Bill Gates with Microsoft, because I think that was a huge change on business to really have the information. And that's why then I focus and day to day. Then I focus where there are problems, and then I put more time with their problems to solve the problems. Now I have my sons that they're really running the companies. So I have more time now for my wife and for Gina that I love, and my dog and other things that before I didn't have so much time, and for my social work.
Excellent. So you brought up innovation and Microsoft. I was in technology for about 30 years, and I was there in the early 90s at the explosion of the internet, email, and it was a incredible time of productivity and technical change. And I tell my clients today, you're in the business you're in, but what's the second business you're in? That's information technology, to use and leverage that as a competitive advantage. Where I'm going with this next question is, I believe we're at the first inning, the ground floor with AI. What are your thoughts on AI? Are you embracing it with your businesses? Are you afraid of it? What are your thoughts on AI?
Oh no! I'm not afraid of it. We're embracing it. We're starting. Like in our rigs, we are oil producers. So we have 10 rigs in shallow waters in the Gulf of Mexico. So we produce our wells that we produce for the government is not our oil. Produce 350,000 barrels a day. So we are very. My son Freddie, he did Steve Jobs in his book. He talked about the elevator pitch. I don't know if you're aware of the elevator pitch. Mm-hmm. That he was the elevator in his offices, and a guy comes in and tells him, "Hey, I want to propose you a project." Said, we have the time that I go in the elevator and explain your project, no? And that was it was the guy that told him how to scroll that was it. So then in management, elevator pitch, in my incubator we teach our startups to explain in 2 or 3 minutes to investors their projects, no?
Sort of like Shark Tank.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, but in really massive volume. No, it's not like short term, but somewhat similar. And then in drilling, my son said, well, there was a big problem that the oil company, state company, took a long time to drill a well. You drill a well 5,000 meters. You go in the water to the bed of the. You go 60 meters and then you go 5,000 meters. So we created pits like Formula One pits. You see how the cars come to the pits
Yes.
and they change their. They used to change it in, I don't know, years ago. It took them a minute or 30 seconds. Or today they come in and in 2 seconds, they change the wheels, boom, and they leave. So that's what we created the pitch. What's the pitch? Everybody is ready. When the car comes, everybody knows what to do and has the tool to do it. And boom, they do it, and boom. If one misses, it ruins everything. So when we start drilling wells, when we start drilling, everybody has to be ready. Everybody knows how to do. Everybody has the tooling and the products and the mud and the lubricant, everything. Pow! And the state company made it well in 180 days. We do it in 30 days,
Wow.
and it's productivity. So I think so. Then now we're using IT. We're using AI. Sorry, we're starting to using AI because with AI, you know what when the well you're receiving the information of gases or fuel or with AI you can redirect and correct, and it's gonna be a big change, and it's starting. Still, there's not in AI. You need a lot of information, billions of information. Still, in some areas like drilling, you don't have the enough information for AI to really give you a good solution. But I believe the AI is going to benefit. I have read a lot about. People are scared that many jobs are going to be lost, and but we have to work on it. We can stop it, man. Yeah, we can't stop it. We have to go for it. I don't think that the government should regulate it. Maybe a little bit, but it has to go. You have to go for it. I don't know. I don't know what you think or what.
Yeah, I think the genie's out of the bottle, and I'm pretty close and pretty well versed in technology and AI. And I think in 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 years, we're going to look back, and this is going to be a seminal moment in the history of civilization on a multitude of factors: pharmaceuticals, science, prolonging life. I think it's amazing, and I say, don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. And I say that AI. Think of AI like this: it's ostensibly free or $20 a month for Chat GPT 5. Think of it as you having a super assistant for free that'll do some work for you that doesn't cost you a penny. You don't have to manage. You don't have to clothe. You don't have to insure. It's amazing. And I'm seeing that real time, the impact of AI in Boise. For example, at Micron, you can't believe Micron is a chip manufacturer.
I know.
The number of huge construction cranes. Facebook in Nampa is building a huge data center that's going to employ 5,000 people. These are good paying jobs. the need for growing and scaling effective access to inexpensive energy for these data centers. So I say embrace it, and if you don't understand it, embrace it. It's a key skill for the future. So you've got a incubator, and you work with local entrepreneurs. Talk to me about some exciting ideas that are percolating in that incubator now that you're excited about.
Well, they're simple. They're not very sophisticated. There's some ones that are really in IT. Many are ITs. That they do some programs for hotels to see how was your experience in the hotel. There's many in ITs. Another ones are simple things, like I told you, a girl that produces cookies that are sugarless, that they say that you won't get fat, wellness, and many of those things, many things of cooking, of food, another ones of tooling too, unbelievable, but tooling, food for protein, food for jail, or for, Mexico gives, I think it's 6 million breakfasts a day to kids.
6 million.
Oh yeah, at least yes, in Mexico, yeah, free for the kids. For the education is free in Mexico, so they give them in the mornings. They give them their breakfast. So there's startups and that come and present the package that has better protein and better for the health and more studied food that could benefit the kids, no? So those are the things that really passion me. How so many, so many, you can believe, opportunity. People really, and I love that. The people. That's what I tell everybody, the kids. Guys, work for yourself. Try not to be employed. If you have to be employed, be employed. But try to do something for yourself. There's so huge opportunities. Take the risk.
Huge opportunity. Because once you're an employer, you don't want to be an employee again.
And as you said, you have to adapt. It's like Darwin said, the species that survive through the billions of years were the ones that adapt to the change, no? So we have to adapt. Now with the AI, we have to adapt, and that's what we teach our kids, to really be innovative and to adapt to change and work. Work is. We have to tell them you have to work. I remember somebody said, "Work hard works."
Work hard works.
I know somebody that said that one day. It's called Dvorak.
Yeah.
Work hard works.
Hard work works. Hard work works. I'll take can do over IQ any day. But what advice, Alfredo, would you give to young Mexican entrepreneurs who want to create impact and not just income, beyond taking the risk, identifying a business niche or opportunity? But what advice would you, Alfredo, give to Mexican entrepreneurs, young people, not only in Mexico, but here in the U.S. and our global audience, on entrepreneurs who want to create impact, not just income?
Well, first, they have to dream. You have to dream, man. You have to have dream, and you have to dream on what you can do on your life. And then, if you focus on what impact you can do, you have to dream. And then put it in action. I think one of my big success in life has been when I dream things or I vision things, I put it in action. In action. One example is Tamarack.
Yeah, talk to us about Tamarack. So it's 1996, 97, and there's this resort, or kind of a resort, not even a resort, an idea of a resort about 2.5 hours northwest of Boise. Take us through that story because it is really fascinating.
Well, when I was a kid, I started skiing in Breckenridge. I told you that was on the '70s. Then I went to Vail, and me and my father we started investing in Vail, and we were partners with Ben Associates. We're pioneers in Beaver Creek, where you live, and then Arrowhead. So and Single Tree to the golf course. We built a golf course with developments. So I saw how the ski industry was growing on real estate. It was unbelievable, unbelievable. I told you about Potato Patch. Had a lot of $30,000, and then sold it to a guy in 70,000. Months later, he sold it to 150,000. My God, I don't know how many $1 million a Potato Patch now worth. But so I started. Then they said in the '90s, well, I want to do a ski resort. I want to do. There was so much in Mexico. We lived with so many crises because we had there was stability in the '60s, but the '70s came and we had socialist, very leftist guy that really ruined the economy, and we started having tremendous inflation. The banks were my father had a bank. We were expropriated in the '80s, so there was a lot of crisis. So I said I want to do something in the United States, business. So, but one that really impact. So I said I want to do a ski resort. And I was doing in Cancun a project, and there was a French Nellivan that I hired him to do to tell me to project the Puerto Cancun in Cancun as a port. And he told me, I said, and he said, you ski? I said, sure, and I want to do a ski resort. So well, I did things in Europe. So why don't you come with me to Idaho? There's a place you have to see. It was in the '90s. So I said, okay, let's go. So we went to Idaho, and then he showed me the mountain. There was nothing. It was just cattle. It was the dirt road, and I said, man, and there was a company. It was called Balboa, and went bankrupt. They couldn't get the permits. Taggart. His name was Architect Taggart from Boise. Very nice guy, but he couldn't get the permits, so they went bankrupt. So I said, well, I went to talk to Governor Batt at that time, and I said, Governor, I saw. I studied that, as you know, the story of the valley. It's very important, the story of the Valley County, because let's go back to the 17th century. It was French, it was fur trappers. The industry was fur trappers. It was a huge industry in Europe. So they went all the way to America. They went to the mountains in Idaho, and they got the fur sent it to England, to Paris, to all the fur trappers. So then Jefferson, when he became president of the United States, 1800, very early, he was very concerned because the port of New Orleans, where half of the commerce of the United States changed hands from France to Spain, to the Napoleon, sent it to his brother in Spain. So he was concerned that problems could block the commerce of the United States. So he sent a commission with Napoleon to buy the port of New Orleans. And they went with Napoleon and they told him, Mr. Jefferson wants to buy the port of New Orleans. He said, no, I don't sell the port of New Orleans. I sell the Louisiana territory to Mr. Jefferson. And they said, the Louisiana, what the Louisiana territory is from the Mississippi all the way to the Rockies. And he said, because Napoleon was already fed up with America. He lost 50,000 soldiers in Santo Domingo. So he said, I'm done. I don't want to know nothing about it. I have to fight against these Brits, fighting at the British all the time. And so I need money. So he sold it for $15 million, that territory. And he said, and I'm selling it because I want that there could be a new country that could fight against the Britons. That was Napoleon's idea, to create the United States, a strong country that could be balanced to the British. So then he did the Lewis and Clark how to say that? Expedition, because he wanted to find a water pathway to the Pacific. So they went to the Mississippi and then Missouri, and it was impossible. They encountered with the mountains, the tribes. Sometimes they fight. Sometimes they were helpful animals. So they came back and they said, "There's no way to do a waterway to the Pacific." But they put all the cartography. So the caravans start going to the west. So they went to the west. People started going to the west and coming, and they came to the valley, and then the gold rush came. And the gold rush, there was a lot of gold in Idaho. There was what's the name of this little town that had been in my bike?
Yellow
Pine. Yellow Pine had 24,000 people in 1920. Today there's nobody there. I've been in my motorcycle and then the gold. It was the gold rush. So McCall, everything was just booming. Gold finished. So then next industry, the timber, the wood. So sawmills, Boise Cascade, all the sawmills in the valley, 2 big sawmills. And then President Clinton passed a bill to ban the clear cut and to just selective cut. So before you had permits to have, 20 acres of wood, of trees, cut it, put it to the sawmills. But then with that bill, it was selective cut. So all the sawmills went bankrupt. So the valley went to a terrible situation. McCall and there was no employment. The young kids start leaving. So then that's what really motivated me. And I said, well, they have to keep a permit. That's what I told the governor. Governor, the only way to give the valley again some income and people stay there is creating a resort. A company without chimneys. And I said, well, you're right, but you have to pay the locals what these guys from Balboa owe them. And I said, well, in the bankruptcy, I said, well, those are they're no recourse. No, those are loans that you have to pay them to the local. So I put a tent Cascade. So I bought the land. The two ranches was the Biner Ranch and the Wellminster Ranch. They were cattle ranches. And then I went to Cascade, put up tent, said, okay, who owns this company? I'm going to pay, and $6 million.
Wow.
There were guys that came and said, like a lawyer in McCall, and I'm not going to say his name, but he says they owe me $240,000. I said, $240,000. They didn't pay you at all, or no? I said, I know because I knew you had deals that they were going to pay you with lots, and now they bring back up. Now you want, but I had a commitment with the governor, so I paid everybody. I paid people that had trucks. I paid people of gasoline station. I paid, everybody. So everybody got their money. So I got the support of the community first. Secondly, I start working hard. The governor Kempthorne was tremendous support. Kempthorne told me, we have to do this, Alfredo, because I don't like the kids. They don't have opportunities. They're leaving the valley. There's no opportunity in Idaho. So he supported me tremendously, the governor, Dirk Kempthorne. So, but let me tell you a story. I went to a hearing myself in Cascade with the local community. And then they start, you are going to destroy our mountains and you're coming to our animals and this and that. I said, hey, hold on. I'm coming here to restore what you have destroyed in 100 years with your cattle. Because here in the land I just bought, there's two creeks. One is Rock Creek and the other one is Poison Creek. And they're full of debris of cows. And they're no fish and they're full of mud. And I'm bringing all these engineers that they're going to restore the original course and clean them. So I'm going to restore. And I'm going to bring a community here. It's going to come here. They're going to be educated people. That are going to protect the mountains, and they will be always thinking how to protect and how to protect the animals and help to this valley to be better valley. We're not coming to destroy. So it was great experiences, and people got convinced. So they gave me the permits, and then the story. Then okay, we started doing it. It was a big success until 2008. That there was a terrible situation in the United States. Even Lehman Brothers went broke. So all the real estate companies, big companies, all went broke. The big recession. So Tamara came into, and then came people like you, and
you,
and homeowners, and me too. And I never left. I gave I never took a penny out of the loans that the company took. Never took a penny. So I had my face. I went to the judges. I went hearings. I went depositions, hearings. I learned more of law than, but I was always there to show the community and show people like you that I was not going to leave, that I believe on Tamarack, and that it didn't, and that I put my money in front. I didn't do nothing wrong, and I was going to stay there until things were fixed. And the story now. Now we have great owners, the Navarro family. A great CEO that is Scott Turlington, and I'm so happy the way it's becoming. So that's the story of my story of Tamarack.
That's a wonderful story, and I think it speaks to the love that you and I and many others have and had for Tamarack at its lowest point. And I believe it's the only time in the history of development that the homeowners actually got together and put their own money in when the economy was at its lowest, but we knew we had an asset of value. And because of your vision and your commitment, what you saw back in the late 90s really created the beautiful asset that it is today.
And you know, and one thing that I loved is when we inaugurated, I was walking with Governor Kempton inside the kitchens, and all the kids that were working there. Kempton said, "Hey Joe, how are you? How's your father? How's your mother?" And he saw me and said, "Alfredo, that's what I want. Exactly that the kids of the valley stay and have a work and have a global mentality to talk with the international people and have education." That's what. So we are. I think it was accomplished. The origin and the vision was accomplished. There was obviously, well, you know, all these resorts. When there's Beaver Creek went bankrupt. Took I don't know how many years to take off Beaver Creek. But now it's a story of success, and you know what's the most important thing is the community, the homeowners that kept it open, kept it alive. Unbelievable. My heart just beats when I think about it.
And I can see it.
I have a camera in my veins. You know, Gina, my wife, we've been all around the world, and we got a yacht. And she says, best place for me in my life is Tamarack.
That's a great story. So, Alfredo, it's been a high honor and privilege to spend some time with you here today. I know our listeners are really going to enjoy that. I end every podcast, I call it the rapid fire round. So I'm going to ask you a series of about 7 questions, 1 or 2 word response. Are you ready?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Be honest.
What keeps you up at night as a business leader?
Responsibility of all the people that works for me.
One Mexican value the world should adopt.
Family.
A habit you credit for your success.
My father's leadership and kindness.
If you weren't a businessman, what would you be doing?
Maybe teaching. I love.
Favorite place in Mexico to relax and recharge?
My house with my wife.
Excellent. And the title of today's podcast is Mission Possible. Your biggest Mission Possible moment so far?
By far, Tamarack Resort.
Excellent. Well, Alfredo, the hour and 15 minutes has flown. It's been a high honor and a privilege to spend some time with you and to hear your journey and your story. Our guest has been Alfredo Miguel, a visionary Mexican businessman and industrialist who's impacted the lives of tens of thousands with his mark. Alfredo, thanks so much for your time. It's been a high honor and privilege. And for our Mission Possible listeners, check us out at missionpossible.biz, on Spotify, on Apple, as well as YouTube. Carpe diem.
Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you to you and your audience.
Thank you.
Pleasure and honor to be with you.